just happy to be here, and yeah, you can ask me anything, and I'll answer the best of my ability with my experience, right? So it can be a technical question or a completely novice question. So be open, and I'm ready for it.
Yeah, so any type of questions you have, please do ask. Okay, let's start. Maybe the first one we can.
My question is, on your experience with Grandmasters and people who are at the highest levels of chess, what is it that you find is a common thread among all of them? And what distinguishes them from the regular chess player?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I mean, I think it's a willingness to suffer for the game, right? So everybody likes chess, but beyond the point when you go, right, you're not going to achieve something without some amount of suffering, right? You're going to struggle. Maybe struggle is the better word, but the actual word would be suffering. But you're going to be frustrated at some point, and you're going to have downs and all that. But chess is so interesting to them that they want to continue that. They want to stick with that. I think that would be, if you want to, people who play it all their life, right, or majority of their life, I think that would be the key difference.
Thanks, sir. Hey, thank you, Vishnu sir, for this opportunity to ask. So this question is specifically for my end. So I got my FIDE rating back in 2013, but then due to my career and all, I had a 10-year break and I didn't play chess. But now in 2023, I'm coming back to chess.
Thanks to Sagar.
Thank you. So I've played like more than 12-13 tournaments this year, but I'm stuck in this range where I score 5 or 6 out of 9. So how would you, or what would you suggest to someone who's coming back to chess after a long break? How to improve from here on? And what has, I mean, in 10 years the game has also changed quite a lot. So what's your view on that?
He's also a chartered accountant, so very successful in his work.
Good with numbers.
Yes.
So that's a very interesting question actually. So adult improvement is a huge topic in chess, and definitely adults improve and train differently. So I would think the first thing would be to find your motivation, really why do you want to come back, right? So because in moments of crisis, you will have to really push yourself. So if you don't have a clear picture psychologically there, you're not going to push yourself and you're going to give up, right? So children don't need that. They do things they enjoy. That is their motivation. But as adults, you really need a good reason. Why should I spend time? Why should I travel? Why should I sleep? Right? So you have to find your own personal answers for it. Either you set a goal, or you have to set a clear even a mental goal would be fine. I want to learn to concentrate better or something like that. Chess has definitely changed. One thing I would say is that to do something every day makes a much bigger difference than doing something on and off, right? So when you do something every day, you remind yourself that you're training, right? So even if it's 15 minutes a day, I think that's much more important than working one day a week or something like that, because you remind yourself you're training. And just have something, make a small alteration to your life for chess, like eating better or sleeping better or listening to something better or meditating for 5 minutes. This will also give you the confidence to show that I'm doing something, so something should work. As far as the game is concerned, definitely it has changed, and it's about information, right? So what resources did your opponent have 10 years ago? What resources does he have now? So in that way, probably you should shape your game according to your weaknesses and your own resources. That's something you should take into account, right? So how much time can I spend on the game? So let's say you spend like 5 hours a week. Then it doesn't make sense to play the Nashov or something very sharp. You have to be more practical about such things. And mostly at that level, you can get very far just by being very good at tactics, right? So working on the tactics and probably shaping your game around quiet chess and strategy. I think that would be my recommendation.
Just further to what we have asked, how to improve now after coming back. Just want to know the online glitches or chess.com, whether we should practice, because I have not found any difference after playing for maybe 6 months online, no improvement in the rating and all that. So what is your opinion, whether we should play online chess or whether we should put books and other skills? Thank you.
No, online chess is definitely a way to improve. So what I would say is that, that's how to improve is not the right question to ask, but more like how can I play more freely, right? So there's no real answer to that question. How can I improve? Like if your rating has not improved or your game has not improved, those are two different things. Your rating has not improved is a different thing. Your game has not improved is a different thing. So if your game has improved, then good. At some point, you make some alterations, your rating will catch up. But like say, I always recommend to train in a way which demands your most amount of concentration. Okay, so whatever makes you concentrate very hard, right? Whatever takes about most of your, let's say you should lose whenever you're training, you should lose a sense of time, right? So you should be so deep that you lose a sense of, that is the ideal training method for you. Whatever that may be, playing blitz also. Yeah.
Very deep. So the thing is, if you are training, you should lose the sense of time.
Okay. Thanks, Prasanna, for coming here. So my question is, see, the engine is right, always like what we can say. Whenever we are, it's stop thinking. So how do we manage that? See, if we just.
So the question is, how do we avoid using engines, or engines limit us, dominate our thinking? What to do against it?
Yeah, turning on the engine or turning it off, it won't change your game much. But one way to train to think more is to just follow a live event and try to guess the game move of the Grandmaster who's playing the game, right? So even now Tata Steel Rapid is happening. So you can just try to follow an event and try to guess the move, whatever is, what do you think will be his next move, right? So I think the engine, it gives a move, but it doesn't give the reason why it is played or why it's not played. So even if you turn on the engine, it doesn't really show the idea, I think. It just shows a move. So trying to follow games and trying to guess them, right? So if you're not able to guess the move, generally what we advise is to, let's say, try to ask what question he would have asked to arrive at them, right? So why did he make that move? What questions would he have asked? So you try to kind of reverse engineer the process and try to see if you can guess the move. That's the most common way to do it. Yeah. I'm not sure if my answer was satisfactory, but that's how usually we recommend. Yeah.
I want to follow up this question, because what Vishnu said right now, he actually did it. When we were on our way here, in the rickshaw, he was checking the game of Gukesh, and at no point did he switch on the engine. He was just seeing what is the move that is being played, and he was just, I think, happy with sort of understanding the position on your own. You didn't want to know whether he was winning or losing, right? So I think the curiosity is not to find the objectivity of the position, but what do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, see, you're just trying to create the scenario that you're going to experience in a game. By turning off the engine, that is how you're going to feel during the game. Contrary to popular opinion, even Grandmasters don't know what is going on. That's how the game is, right? So that's what I think. It's always, there's some amount of uncertainty in the game, which the engine takes away when you turn it on. And as soon as you turn it off, you're back to that uncertainty. You have to be comfortable with that uncertainty, because that's how you play the game. Like Magnus said, chess is making decisions with incomplete information, right? So you're not going to have all the information you need to make the right decision, but still you have to make a decision. So that's how you have to be comfortable with that. That's what playing well is. Yeah.
Two important things here. One is be comfortable with uncertainty, and second is chess is all about making decisions with incomplete information. It's very important. Okay, next, anyone?
My question is related to puzzles. So how important are puzzles to improve the game?
No, puzzles are important. So depends on what level he's in, but puzzles are definitely develop a sense in you, right? So in chess there are things you have to spot immediately, and there are things you have to think about. So you solve puzzles, a lot of puzzles, so that whatever you can spot immediately, you do it. You don't have to think about it. Puzzles develop the sense of the board and tactical sense. Tactics is something that you don't think about, you just see. That's how chess players operate. It's very hard to think, and even though we are doing it at home, right? As puzzles are, that's what puzzles are. You're thinking about the position and trying to find a tactic. But at the board, you won't be able to do that. You have to spot it immediately. So doing a lot of puzzles, in turn develops that sense, so that you can spot it immediately. They are important first. The more you do, definitely the faster you can spot them. And once you're able to spot them very fast, then they become less important. But till you're able to spot them very quickly, you need them.
Vishnu, a follow-up question on this is, what are the best resources for solving puzzles or positions?
Actually, this is a question that I had in my mind. It's an interesting question, actually. How are puzzles useful, and like how many puzzles does it take to develop a thought process, right? So we are trying to develop a thought process. Basically, every tactic, there's an inherent question which they're not consciously doing, they're just spotting it, but your mind is developing a thought process to solve the question. Tools to improve tactics is, there's of course the chess-based tactics, chess-based trainer, which you can use, and I think there is also the lead chess studies, lead chess tactics, and chess tempo tactics. These are all perfectly fine. I think I've used all of them. So lead chess, chess tempo, and ChessBase. Tactics are available on the web so much now. So I think these books are becoming slightly obsolete, but not entirely.
Okay. Yeah, you have a question? Maybe someone will have to pass the mic.
I studied for 1430. So I accumulated a good number of classics and books. So, but like I said, books are becoming obsolete. So how do we actually think of learning new chess? So I live in Mumbai, where even they also cutting the book on a table and also putting a chess and challenge the space. Okay, so how do we actually
that's what I said. Like, it goes back to the previous question. Whatever engages you the most, it comes back to that. I love reading books. And I almost read all the new books out there. So, you can't force somebody to read books, especially a child. Right? So, that's what I meant by that. I think a good way to improve is to read books without a board. Yeah. So that's it's about becoming fluent with the board, right? So a very important thing for tactics, just visualization and everything is game has to be fluent for you. You should be able to follow a game for a long time without a chessboard because it's happening in your mind. During the game, you can't move your pieces, you can't do anything. So you can, in a way, you should also read the chess book without a board. That's one way to develop that visualization skill. I mean, every book has a different purpose now. So if it's a puzzle book, you don't need a board, I think. You should do it without a board. If it's an autobiography, probably without a board. So opening book, probably you need a board or a laptop. There's a former world champion, Petrosian. That's exactly what he did. He just used to borrow a book and he studied without a chessboard and improved his visualization. At the same time, if you're training tactics, probably the web is the better way to go. But for example, there was a book here right now, 100 Endgames You Must Know, which is probably, you need a book for that, right? So, that's a very good book. You can learn some specific things about that. See, there are different things you're training for as a player, right? You're training for your sense, right? That is the first thing you train for. Chess sense, tactical sense. What is it? Chess sense is that you don't want to think about it. Whatever your sense is, you're not thinking about that. You're just seeing it on the board. And you're training pattern recognition. So what is typically played in this position? What is not typically played? And you're training for specific knowledge. That is openings or theoretical endgames. So probably these are the three things you're training for. And you can subdivide them into many ways. But tactical sense, probably the websites are better. But for the knowledge and understanding, I don't think you can find it online actually. You have to rely on those. Yeah.
Okay, so Vishnu, just a follow-up question on this is that many times, and this advice which you gave, that books need not have a chessboard. You can read the books and you can learn it. You can do it blindfolded. But there is also a contrary opinion which says that if you practice on the chessboard, it is very closer to what you will have during a tournament. Does that both conflict, or what do you?
Actually, I don't see how that is closer to the tournament because you can look at all the games, they're looking at the ceiling, right? So that's the truth actually. Everything is going on here. I don't think anybody is really looking at the board and playing. It's all in the head, I think. So I don't really recommend chess boards so much. I mean, I don't think they're necessary, but yeah, you can use them.
Sins of the chessboards. Okay. Anyone has any questions?
Yeah, if you're looking at a lot of variations, no, it's always nice to move around, right? So that everybody uses both still. And yeah, see, there is some value to that also. I agree with you. There's a lot of value to purposeless training, right? So instead of thinking, how is this helping me? Even just spending time with chess does help you. You just don't know how, right? If you're comfortable with that, that's perfectly fine, yeah.
Okay. Next question. Anyone? Yes.
I'm in 11th standard. I just got my fidelity. So my question is, how can we manage both study and chess at both time? And like, what should be the appropriate time to give to chess and to study? Like, if I'm having my schedule, so after my busy schedule, how much time should I give for chess and like, what should I practice? Like lines or puzzles or analyze my games, like what should I?
So if you've just got your FIDE rating, my recommendation would be to play a lot and learn from that, right? So, and puzzles should be your second priority. And how much time should you spend on chess? As much as you can. So, it's depends on what is your goal, right? Depends on what's your overall goal. Yeah, that's what I would say. Depends on your overall goal. But at least some 30 minutes a day at least, but as much time as you. But it's all about thinking about chess, right? So those are different things. Two different things. You're analyzing something, but you're thinking about a game you played yesterday. Is it going on in your head, consciously or unconsciously? That's a different thing. So if you're thinking about the game all the time, then you will anyway improve. And if you're spending time, then you don't need to spend so much time training. You can spend a little bit and still see a good improvement. But you should have the tendency to think about the game all the time. Yeah.
Vishnu, I'm going to ask a question that is on the minds of a lot of people in general, and I know this question. The question is, I am around 15, 18, 20, 25, 30-year-old, or could be even more, and I'm getting better at chess. But do you think I can become a Grandmaster? This is a general question. Like you said, it depends on what your goal should be. Most of the people have a goal that they want to become a GM. So what is your take on this? Do you think it makes sense to have these goals while practicing or while trying to improve?
Yeah, the basic of sports psychology is you have to ask 3 questions first. What do I want? Why do I want it? And how much am I willing to suffer? Right? So, you want to become a GM? Why do you want it? It would be nice to be a GM is not a good answer because the third question comes in, right? So, how much are you willing to suffer for? Any decent goal, like I said in the first question, right? So, you'll have to suffer. And as an adult who has many options, right? Your mind always wants to escape that suffering. If your second answer is not good, so what do you want? You want to become a GM? Why do you want? It should be a good answer. Otherwise, the third question, how much am I willing to suffer? When that suffering comes, you want to get out of it. You're not going to continue. Right? You'll be like, I want to forget about being a GM. And you will move on. So, you have to answer these questions. And then frame your goal.
Okay, fantastic. How much are you all willing to suffer? That is a question you have to ask. Okay, next one. Anyone? Yes?
So to improve chess, apart from chess practices, what other things we need to cultivate in our life? Like for example, meditation. What other things matter? Like physical fitness and how much?
Well, definitely, chess is changing compared to, chess training is changing compared to 10 years ago, 20 years ago. 20 years ago, there was no preparation. You just came and played at the board. Or there was very little preparation. 10 years ago, you were serious. You had preparation and all that. And now you have to think about everything. Nutrition, exercise, meditation, and all that. I think they are definitely important. And in order to be really good, you have to have a strong daily routine. I mean, if you want to be the best, you should have a strong daily routine, which correlates with your goal. I think, meditation is very important. Physical activity is, for chess players especially, is very important, I think. And it's very neglected, but really, really important. And people have to understand that your physical capacity also determines your capacity to absorb stress. So if you're unfit, you can't take up the stress as much. But at the same time, it's slightly different for children. I don't think a child can meditate so easily. I mean, it's rare, I think. So what I would recommend is to have an activity that is like completely absorbs, right? So like I said, lose your sense of time. If chess is completely absorbing for them, then that itself is meditation. I believe that itself is meditation. But there should be some activity even for young children. And I would emphasize on that rather than increasing the chess strain. Physical activity, I believe, is very important. And if you want to have success as a young kid, I'm not sure if it's necessary or not, but if you want to, you have to be a bit intentional, right? So you can't just play, right? Probably something like visualization or thinking about winning an event, thinking about winning something special and stuff like that. That's more relevant to children than meditation. Visualization makes more sense.
Okay, Vishnu, when you speak about sports, it is very clear that, when someone works out, it increases their stamina, it increases their ability to absorb stress. But when you talk about meditation, what does that entail? A lot of people don't realize why should they meditate in order to become better chess players. But I've seen almost now all the top players of India, be it Vidit, be it Gukesh, be it Arjun, all are meditating. Why?
No, it's a very simple answer actually. Meditation helps emotional regulation, right? So chess is not a game of intelligence actually. Chess is a game of emotions. And you're fighting with the opponent. That's what, and your own emotions. I think meditation is a simple, free tool for emotional regulations. And a lot of children need that. Some way to emotionally regulate themselves, the ups and downs and all that. Even with Gukesh, he didn't take his losses well at some point, and then this is something we adopted, and after like 6 months or so, he was able to let go of bad days. He was able to, react better to his losses. Emotional regulation is very important overall for children, I think. And you'll have to find some way to do it. I think meditation is one of the ways. If your kid is disciplined enough to do it. If he's not able to sit down for meditation, that's also a sign that he needs it more. Right? So I think there are many tools. You can also introduce some other art or something just to help them regulate themselves. I think it's very important.
Okay. One last question from my side. How important is it to have a professional coach? Or maybe self-learning is enough, or beyond the level you think that getting a professional coach or a mentor is a compulsion to move ahead in that case? I think a lot of people have this question.
To me, I think there are two purposes to a coach. One is speed, right? You can't do everything. He'll show you the way. You don't have to keep making mistakes and learn. So speed is an important tool that is coach provides. Second thing is to show you something that you can't see yourself. right? Not in chess. Chess there are books, there are resources to show you something about yourself that you can't see, right? So it's about the individual. If we can show you something about yourself, that's what, right? So what am I working with? So I work with players stronger than me. So what am I teaching? It's not really chess, right? So I'm showing something that either their ego is hiding from them, or I'm just bringing in a different perspective which they cannot see. So that is the role of a coach, I think. One thing is that as an adult you can't change much. Again, you need good motivations to change. You should have a good why, but it's not so easy to change. So a coach could show you your patterns and you could work with that, but there's no such thing as necessity. I don't believe a coach is necessary. If you think deeply enough, you have all the answers. That's my absolute belief.
Vishnu, I have one question, that when you train Gukesh or any top player, but let's say Gukesh, how much of the training is chess related and how much of it is related to the personality, as you just spoke about, trying to talk about different aspects of the person that he is?
No, a lot. A lot of it is about the person also, as they become stronger and stronger. Not just him, but other people, right? So we are discussing about people as much as we are discussing about chess. 50-50 even. And a lot of days, at some point you just close the chessboard and you're just talking. So a lot of it is about psychology after a point. Yeah.
So that is very important. We think that chess improvement is only about chess, but it is also a lot about trying to understand yourself, the human aspect. So, okay, anyone? Yes.
Hello sir. Sir, after a tournament, how should we analyze our game by yourself, and when mixing Indians, how should we proceed with that so that we can get most out of the tournament, the learning part?
So analyzing with an engine is a very tricky endeavor. So I'm not sure. So first of all, you have to know how an engine works, because that's itself a complex topic. And definitely it can show you some errors that you make. I think when you analyze the game after the event, so first of all, you have to think about the mistakes, right after you made them. Right? So there are two kinds of mistakes. You know that it's a mistake and you made them. And you don't even know it's a mistake. Right? So we all make both. Either, so first of all you have to try to see how you can stop the familiar mistakes, like blundering or playing a subpar move for some other reason, right? Whatever is a mistake that you can spot immediately, first you have to try to rectify that. And then with an engine, you can see, I think engine is a good tool to see, you have to find your mistake and try to see how it would have continued at that point. And if you can understand that, then that's good. If that's too complex for you, then probably you have to go a little bit earlier and see how you can. Engine is a good tool to see. It's a good tool to suggest plans, I think. Right? It's a good tool to suggest plans. And you can turn it on at every point and see what plan is suggesting. So what you can do is you can turn it on, put the plan it's suggesting on the board, turn it off for a moment, see if you understand the plan. If you don't understand, then turn it on again and try to see. If you understand, then it's good. because sometimes the engine is searching something very deep which we can't use, right? So maybe when you're analyzing with an engine, you have to, the best way is to keep it on at some, keep it off, try to understand what it is thinking. Yeah, it will definitely help you.
Vishnu, one of the most famous things in Indian chess is Gukesh's reaching Grandmaster title without use of engines. And I think you were the main reason behind why he adopted that approach. So how would you, how important would you say is trying to improve without use of engines?
No, I don't. So that's just an idea I suggested to him. He decided to follow that. So, see, I had two goals when I said that, when I gave him the idea. One is to create the same scenario that you experience on the board. Like I said, scenario of uncertainty, right? You evaluate the positions on your own rather than having it, so, and you're comfortable with that. You're comfortable with that uncertainty. And the second thing is to just use his brain a lot. And I think he's become a very good calculator. Mainly, he attributes it to not using engines. We can never know, right? So it will be confirmation bias. So I think people do use, people have improved by using engines also. But the simple rule is that you improve at chess by thinking about chess. That is the most simple rule. It's not about knowledge. It's not about knowing something at all. You improve at chess simply by thinking about it. That is a fundamental rule. Right? So the more your engine is turned off, you're more actually training. As a player, actually, I relied a lot of knowledge. But I realized that's a very primitive way to study chess. So, and especially in this era, I think, of computers and information, knowledge accumulation is a primitive way to study chess. So, it's about being innovative and thinking a lot about the game.
Okay, you should always be thinking about chess. Maybe we'll ask, let him ask.
Hi sir, I have one question. How top players use blitzscape to train themselves? They play and then immediately analyze it, how deep they analyze, or just for opening purpose they play?
Yeah, openings is a big reason why they play blitz. So typically what happens is they study a system and play it out. So even if you analyze something for a long time, you are prone to mistakes in a new position. So what they do is they try to get a feel for the position by playing this, right? So you're looking for the feel. You're not looking to solve the position. You're not looking to play. You're looking how you feel when you play that position. So that's achieved only by blitz, because anyway you don't have time to think. Blitz is a great tool to study openings. I've used blitz in training a lot. Not with Gukesh, but with other kids. Gukesh doesn't like blitz. But yeah, you can just, play a game, try to see where you went wrong in the opening, try to see where you can change. In that way, it's a great tool. And also, you can also play the positions and see how prone you are to mistakes, right? So after theory, are you immediately making a mistake? Or, you're playing well in that position. Both can happen. If you're playing well, all good. If you're prone to mistakes, then okay, why am I making mistakes? Yeah.
Okay, very nice. So play blitzscape to work on your opening.
Hello, Vishnu. So the thing is, I'm into chess for 20 years now, and back when I used to play, I used to think so much about results or I used to just play, I used to win, I used to have to lose, I used to decide. But right now I'm into full-time coaching, and there's one word which keeps on most of were telling me, let us know when the child is playing. In the discussion, you should start playing, then automatically you play. So they say if you play, you bring the data in every day. And there are half of them who don't get the kids play, just because they get money. So what do you do? How do you tackle this problem?
This is not a chess problem, this is a parenting problem. I don't know. So, there's no solution. I mean, without, it starts from the parent. Actually, there are many units which make a player. Definitely, parent plays a huge role, I think. So, I have had arguments with the parents supporting the children. So, you just have to educate the parent, I think. There's no other way around this. Because how are you going to play chess without losing? Losing is a big part of the game. Actually, you lose a majority early on. So, you have to, I think even from the process there itself, something wrong is going on there. I mean, why they come into chess and all that, there's something wrong going on. So it's a very hard problem to fix. I don't know. I would say educate them and give them different motivations maybe than result. Different motivations and result to play for. But it's hard, I understand. That's why I'm saying it's a very complex thing and many units have to play with. So there will always only be few people at the top.
Yeah, for all the parents.
He has another question, I think.
Sorry?
He wants to ask him.
So as you mentioned, even Gukesh was not able to go to the process previous time. So let's say the parent is interested in the child is having the same issue. They're not able to cope up with the process. How do you tackle that? Is there any way to do?
No, I always tell the parents to be neutral to wins and losses. The coach also. So I never react to either his successes or his. I tell the parent the same thing. Because it's very, very difficult because the child is much more attached to the parent. And if the parent does not react properly, he will also suffer from that. I think Sagar made a nice interview with Nihal's dad. I recommend it to other. You can probably share it with your parents because that's a very good reaction to it. Not keep it neutral, and it's a journey. Actually, it's a very long journey, and not to overestimate the wins also, not to get upset over the losses. Yeah, I think there's no easy solution. Everybody suffers from that. You will not solve the problem, but you will have to work with it. And maybe you will find some parents who will convince of your idea. Yeah.
We have, I think, last 10 minutes, so maybe 2-3 more questions. Anyone? He has already asked once, I'll give it to him. Any new hands? Okay.
Yeah.
Hello sir, my name is Yasir. First of all, thanks for coming. It gives us an immense pleasure to have a discussion with you. My question to you is many chess enthusiasts have said that there is a certain age limit. After that age limit, you would be able to progress. Let's say 35 plus or 40 plus, if you are getting motivated to play chess and you think you can make a progress, then it's not possible. You have to start really early. Is it a myth or it is this getting to use the question among us?
No, I think it's more to do with motivation than anything else. So once you're older, probably you have more distractions and more responsibilities other than chess. But I don't think there's any chess reasons why you can't improve over a certain age. I don't think there are any. I think you can play well and you can get better at any age. Even further than, even at 50 or later also, I think you can improve. Because, I think brain-wise, your cognitive abilities are better if you have kept them healthy. So, I don't see any reason why you can't improve after age. I think it's more to do with motivation. You don't have time. You're distracted when you're at the board, thinking about some other things, right? So life gets in the way. But otherwise, I don't think that's true.
Okay, very good news for all the adult improvers that you can improve at any age.
Just wanted to explain how to study opening other than playing blitz. Because it is very difficult to change coming back to before. So if I change from Sicilian to Arab and after 8 days I find it very bored. And all the reason very bored. Again I spend my time changing one. So what is your suggestion for study of in general and also specific to different concepts?
For study of openings, I would say you don't have to play blitz. You can play rapid games also, and try to improve just one move over your previous game, right? So play a game and see if you can improve one more move from your opening. That is the best way to learn. So there is a book by David Bronstein on the King's Indian, right? Okay, he's talking about where each piece goes in the opening, right? So that's how he studies opening, not by any lines or anything, but he wants to know where each minor piece will go, his piece and his opponent's piece. Rest he figures it out on the board. So that's a way to do it. Or you can just watch a lot of videos on, now there are a lot of videos on YouTube. That's also fine, I think, to study an opening. If you're an adult improver, I think there is some groups on Twitter. I don't know if you guys are on Twitter, but there's a GM called Noel Struder. He's from Switzerland. Noel Struder, I think. He's from Switzerland, and he's constantly giving some advice on how to improve for adults. And also there's a Twitter group called Chess Punks, I think, who are also adult improvers and trying to get better as adults. So you can check those out. I've read Noel's blog and some of them are very useful. Yeah.
Okay, so two resources which Vishnu has mentioned is on Twitter there is this player Noel Struder. You can check it out. He's a GM from Switzerland. And there's also, if you put Chess Punks, Punks. Chess Punks is a group which tries to improve. So on Twitter you can get some tips from that. Even if you use hashtag Chess Punks, there are some good tweets for chess improvement. Okay, anyone else? Okay, while you are thinking, we have top three finishers who will get 15 minutes with Vishnu. Is Ram Vishal Parab here? So Ram will get 15 minutes, but Ram, you can sit, we'll call you. Second is Mayuresh Parkar, you get 15 minutes, and third is Mihir Naik. And Ketan, you are fourth, just missed, but okay. So all three of you will get 15 minutes, so you can keep some questions in your mind. You will also get a chessboard in case you want to show a game or something, that also you can do. Okay, anyone else? Last two questions we'll take. Anything that you have on your mind? हिंदी में भी पूछ सकते हैं, कुछ भी पूछ सकते हैं. हाँ, then no one I'll give it to Ketan.
First of all, sorry for asking so many questions. So the thing is, my rating is around 1600. I'm stuck here for 1 year. Obviously, because I am not in the coaching. But I always aspire to become better at chess. So what model do you suggest for apart from chess.com, so I'm aware of this author is supposed to be really good. Is it really that good at my level versus studying and any other things which opening lines should I play? For example, I have usually 5 lines on my head. Should I go for main lines and end game? What is it for overall? And is it possible?
No, it's definitely possible. That's what I'm saying. Like, there is no age to improve on all. See, what is improvement in chess, right? So, all of you keep. That's a very common question. How can I improve? But that is usually not a better way to ask that question is, what more can I learn about chess, right? So you have a pattern and that has stagnated you, basically, right? So you have to add something. So you have a pattern, you have a style, you have to break it down a little bit. You have to unlearn something and try to do something and try to challenge your own beliefs, right? So for example, reading a book or reading this is a part of chess. This is like a small part of chess. This is a knowledge accumulation. If you read the book and think about the book, that is developing understanding. If you're reading the book, you're developing knowledge. But if you really want to have better results, you should really do something that you've not dared to do, right? So you have to challenge your own image of yourself, right? So that definitely helps, because what happens is, like, when you're stagnated for a long time, especially because of that I'm saying, you have this image of yourself and you won't believe that the same person is going to break that image. The same person is not going to go to the next level. So you have to, kind of destroy this person and build a new player and surprise yourself, right? So surprising yourself will help you to break through that stagnation.
Very, very nice way to put it. When everyone asks how to improve, I think Vishnu has put it very well. You need to ask the right question. It's not just about improvement. Okay, anyone else? Last question.
Sorry?
He has a question. Who are your favorite chess players?
My favorite chess players. So there's a very good chess player I personally know. Vishay would be one. And I think Fischer, Tal and Lasker. Yeah. So I think there are certain things about them which are very interesting. Those three names, if I have to name somebody.
Fischer, Tal and Lasker. Very interesting.
And
he knows Vishy personally, so he likes him, and Fischer, Tal and Lasker are three of his favorite players. You want to elaborate on what exactly you like in them?
Fischer, I think he achieved peak mental states which nobody else has done, and nobody else, not Gary or Magnus also. I think he has done that. Obviously he could not sustain it. I think that's why he quit. But Tal is because definitely is the most original. In a way is original. Not just because he's attacking or something. But it's a bit selective also. You're convincing the opponent. So nobody convinced his opponent of his greatness more than Tal, of his combinations more than Tal. It's a bit seductive. So Tal and Lasker, because he had a deep psychological view of the game. And yeah, to me it's personally reflective because he also viewed, he wanted the game to be interesting rather than correct. Right? So he didn't want to play correct chess. He wanted to play interesting. Right? So again, it's not about being sharp, but I think he played better with human emotions more than any player, I think. With the opponent's desire, opponent's fear, and all that. Yeah.
Okay, guys, I think that was a very interesting Q&A session. Let's give a big round of applause to Vishnu. I think sometimes when I talk to Vishnu, I often don't understand many of his points very deeply. I understand them after some years. So, whatever you have learned here or listened to, maybe at this point they might not be very agreeable, but at some point when you go ahead, perhaps they will all come back to you. So, and maybe you have also agreed to some point. So, thanks so much Vishnu for sharing this.